Ooh, hello. It says I'm live. Good morning and happy Sunday. I got up early to get ready and be, dressed and made up for this broadcast. And I was like, ugh, I'm tired. I'm really tired. I did my hair, and that was the best I can do. Was my hair. And I just, drew on some eyebrows. That was it. Y'all, I'm still in my PJs. I'm chilling. It's a Sunday. But today, my girls and I, we're going to be talking to you guys about angels. So we're going to give them a couple of minutes because we really don't get started until 10:30. I turned this on so that I can look at my thumbnail. That's what I really turn this on for. So let's see if it popped up on here. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's not the right color. I mean, it's not the right one, but I guess I'll change it later after the broadcast. So how's everybody doing? Feel free to, chat. Let us know you're here if you want. And if you don't, that's fine too. If you just want to chill, you can just do that. That's about it. That's all we'll be doing. But yeah, I can't wait to get this conversation started. Can't wait to get this conversation started. The girls are going to be, I know one of them has a topic that they can't wait to talk to you guys about and share, like we usually do, our vulnerability. Why can't I say that word? Vulnerable. Yeah. So anyway, that's what this is going to be about today. Angel talk and just things, personal things as usual, like we did last week. So it is 10:30. Hopefully they are hopping on. Let's see if they. Let me just make sure I message them. And I need to turn my phone. Need to turn my phone down. So let's do that. And then turn this down too. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I hope you guys had a good week. I hope y'all had a great week. It was a really good week for me. I had a really busy weekend starting with Friday. I really, really enjoy my energy healing work. Okay, there's AJ. Hey, AJ.
Hey, good morning.
Hi, good morning. You look so pretty.
Thank you. Trying to get my kids' names not in the shot on those growth shots.
Oh, yeah. No, it's funny because today I came in PJs. I don't know, like maybe I should have. I got up early and then I don't know. When it's like that time of the month, you feel drained sometimes. And I
You got
didn't
other
even
things
feel
going
like,
on.
yeah, I didn't feel like finishing. I was just like, you know what? I'm just coming in PJs today.
I think my camera is tilted a little bit. I don't know. It's
No, you can't
is
tell.
that better? Is that better? Okay.
Yeah. That's a pretty blouse.
Thank you. For years I really struggled with what clothes in the stores fit me. And so
Uh-huh.
right around Christmas time in 2021, I started leaning into what is me? And I know someone out there makes it. And
Yeah.
so this was Irish inspired. I think this is actually
Yeah.
from Ireland. And then the other clothes that I
Oh.
wear are like Renaissance clothing, but they
Mhm.
they have the Celtic design, and so I just wear them every
Yes.
day.
Oh, I love it. That is so cool.
Thank you.
I think I don't know. I thought I may have saw Kay, but I guess not. I guess she'll be hopping on. But I'm looking forward to today's discussion.
Oh,
I
she
was
says
just,
oh, that's you.
oh, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was such a busy weekend. But I was just saying that it was a good weekend when it came to some of the things that I had started doing. You know how I am. I'm always like adding things to my arsenal. So like with the energy ball and stuff, oh my gosh,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was so like I don't know how else to describe it other than blissful because this is the first time that I did so many like clearings for people who participated and hadn't felt like drained but more like energized or like
Wow.
cleared myself. You know what I mean?
I was gonna ask where you got that ball. Was that a
Yeah,
design that you actually made, or did you
it
Google, like,
was.
find an image that was, like, exactly what you needed?
Yes, I found an image that resonated, and then I set the intention for it and all that. And it was just something about that ball. It was a couple of balls, but that one I liked the most because of the bright background too,
Yeah,
you know?
it was
Yeah,
very pleasing to watch.
cool. I'm glad it turned out that way. But yeah, it's like so this weekend has just been very like I'm just floating on a cloud.
That's so empowering.
Yeah. And I think that if we can continue to like stay in that moment, most of us would just, man, like that's what we really want, right? Is to just kind of our days to be easy.
Yeah, and, I'm playing with the camera trying to make it feel
Yeah.
more balanced.
You're fine.
And when you're talking about how you're feeling drained right now because of
Mhm.
cyclical and hormonal reasons, I
Yeah.
love leaning into that being, like, a
Yeah.
forced pause.
Yeah.
Like, that was the message I got a few months ago of really, like, "This is your time to just chill. You've been working
Mhm.
all month." And so it's like
Mhm.
that built-in break.
Yes.
I'm gonna check I haven't heard from Kay this morning.
Yeah, I hope she's okay. Um, who else? Someone oh, it was a girl who asked for a reading. She, reminded me of something that we were told at the Heartland. But she asked for a reading, and I told her that, her guides basically were saying to slow down and to, take it easy, you know, go a little easier on herself,
Hmm.
indulge more in self-care. So then and usually what I do is when they ask for readings is, this is over social media. I don't go look at their page until after because I don't want anything to influence me.
Of
I
course.
went and looked at her page and she had a broken arm.
Oh, wow.
And she said, "Yeah, life slowed me down."
Because it's
And I
gonna do that
remember
for
being
you.
told that.
If you don't do that yourself, can't tell you how many people I know who have gotten sick and have had repeat injuries in the family. I'm like,
Mhm.
"You guys are being told to slow down."
Yeah,
But that's not my
definitely.
business to tell you that because that's your journey to discover.
Right. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I kinda hate to get started without Kay. I hope she's
Oh, no, I
okay.
don't want to. You ladies waited for, like, a good 10
Oh, there
minutes for
she
me
is.
last week. Oh, good,
There she is.
good. I was like, part of this is waiting until the right timing fits for each of us because you
Right.
never know, like, if I'm late or if Kay's late, like, we could have been doing a hardcore clearing and cleansing
Yeah,
right before getting on the call, and it's important to wait for that alignment to
right.
come in. So we'll never start without each other. If all 3 of us
Yeah.
aren't here, there's a reason.
Okay, okay.
So
How are
before we
you?
all 3 get here, it's just small talk,
Yeah,
Yeah,
not big
absolutely.
talk. Yeah.
right.
It's just catching up.
It's
Yeah.
so good to see you ladies.
You
Hi, Kay.
too.
Look at that
Hello.
sun coming in.
I know, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's not up yet here. It almost is.
Oh,
It's
okay.
glowing
It's
in
right behind
contrast.
a hill. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
got
Coming
it.
up
is
because
that a
Oh,
hill?
you'll
I thought
see
that
it.
was the roof of a house.
yeah.
Oh,
That's a
here?
That's
hill
so cool.
out
That's
your
right.
window?
Yeah, she does
Oh,
live by
yeah,
the
it's
hill.
a we live in this canyon, so our house is across from this big open field, an old lake is what we've been told. Yeah.
Mm.
From
Wow.
the Missoula floods came a lot of water, 1,000 feet tall, and this was during the times of glaciers. And then it melted, and we put a little house here on Earth,
Beautiful.
right here. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, guys, we can get started. I titled today's based off of what we talked about, some of the things we were leading into last week, angel talk and more. So, and I know AJ is excited to share some things with us. So, you guys want to get right into it?
Yes.
Yeah, and I've put it on full screen so I cannot see the
Okay.
comments, so if people show up
Okay.
and there are comments, if you ladies can direct them, then I can pull it out. I'm, like
Okay.
Yeah.
like, nervous, but I don't know why I'm nervous. This is so
Okay,
fun.
let's just breathe into it then.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
For the highest good of all, here we are.
And it's so funny because we set the container before this call that this playground is all around us and that we're in we're connected in the ways that we know that we'll be connected. And there is a logical brain part of me that still says, but you didn't meditate right before. It's like, I don't need to. I meditated days before.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the little breathing, right, at the time is more than sufficient.
Mhm.
It feels really good.
Yeah. Thank you, July, for the reminder of just a big healing,
Yeah.
not as
Mhm.
opposed to small or big, but just releasing that energy and giving it to the powers
Mhm.
that be, the universe, spirit, God, whatever anybody calls it. But just
Mhm.
it was such a good reminder to reach out and take that energy and share it.
Mhm.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank
And
you.
sharing it, that's like why we're here, right? Because we know how
Mhm.
empowered we are, and
Yeah.
we want other people to get there too.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, okay, the tears might come because
Yep.
it's
Perfectly
it's in
fine.
the heart, and they're tears of love and cleansing, and they probably reflect some of the epiphanies that people watching this might experience. And
Mhm.
I want to get myself in the mindset of really feeling the intimacy of the calls when it was just the three of us, and
Mhm.
kind of ignoring for a moment that this is going to be watched, because there's a different way that I show up when it's the three of us versus now audience members, and
Mhm.
so I want to lean into that, like when it's just the three of us and we just happen to be on display.
Yeah.
Um, so you ladies know that I have a oh, where'd Kay go?
I I
Uh-oh, she's still there.
I'm sorry, I pushed a button. Here. Sorry. That
No,
was
no, it's okay, it's okay.
I'm not a button pusher. I was trying to see the chat. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Okay.
No, that's
I'm
all
back.
divine timing, of course, right? Like I was trying to start from like too serious a position.
I'm just
So
like, I'm out.
angels are like, and there they are interrupting July's screen
Yeah.
again. Angels are
Hello.
like,
Oh,
Alexa, chill
wow.
down. Like you've done
That is
this
so funny.
for months with
Okay.
these ladies. This is just another version of what you've done with these ladies for months on our calls. So
Mhm.
this past week, well, you ladies know that there's a good friend of mine in my life because I keep talking about him where I'm learning all
Mhm.
sorts of lessons.
Yeah, I'm enjoying those stories.
Yes. Yes.
Or well, there was this really, really cool, like I don't want to say onion, I don't like the metaphor, but like deep, 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 like unveiling of multiple lessons that has happened for me over the last 10 days.
Okay.
And so it started so this good friend of mine, like we interact in person, but we don't really interact so much like on like electronically, right?
Mhm.
Like there have been some communications, but mostly like he prefers in-person communication, which is fine. And so about like 10 days ago, I sent him a link of a video that I had done that I wanted him to watch, that I thought that he like I tried to case it and like,
Mhm.
if you want to watch it, but there was like a desire of like, I want you to watch this kind of a thing. And
Yeah.
I noticed myself even at that moment, like me wanting him to watch it, and I kind of let it go.
Mhm.
And so he hasn't watched it. And when I asked, I had seen him since I sent him that link. And it's one of those like, no reference to the link I sent, saw you in person,
Yeah.
had a great time together. And then like I go back home, I'm like, but wait, has he seen it?
Right.
And so a couple days ago I messaged him again. I was like, have you had a chance to watch that? And like a couple days later, because he's never quick with the reply, he's like, actually
Yeah.
no, I haven't yet.
Yeah.
And that triggered me.
Yeah.
Mm.
I like blocked this guy for a couple hours just for like what I needed. I'm like, I
Yeah.
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
even. I'm like seeing myself triggered. And
Yeah.
that was when I reached out to July, the synchronicity. July's like TikTok
Oh,
is so like loving with her short videos of like, here are the things that you
thank
need.
you.
You're welcome. And you had
Mhm.
posted a video on like, if you're feeling not in alignment, that's why you pray and ask for others to pray for you. I was like, July,
Mhm.
please pray for me. I'm like not in that space.
So right.
And And so she did, and then I got in the shower, just to, like, cleanse, and a bunch of epiphanies came through, about me feeling safe.
Mm.
And that leads into I got out of the shower and I wrote down this whole 10-minute story that I'm scheduled to tell in 3 weeks at a Voicebox, like, live jam session. So I don't wanna get into that story because it's, like, really
Mhm.
secret and protected, and once it's, I'll record the session so people will hear that story after I
Yeah.
say it. But the epiphany that I had gotten um, from that download in the shower was that, I when I decide that I am emotionally safe with someone, if they show up differently than I am, like, expecting them to, then
Mhm.
all of a sudden it's like I revert into a deep trigger of, "Oh my god, this person actually is not safe to me."
Mm.
And it's like this
Mm.
whole, like, "Oh, I made a mistake." And I felt that way
Oh
about
yeah.
Chris a little bit, and he was
Mhm.
like a dear friend, and he triggers me a lot, and I had
Mhm.
gone to the place of feeling very, very safe with him, and then he would trigger me. I'd be like, "Oh my god, like, I gotta get this guy out of my life. Like,
Yeah.
he's not safe the way I thought he was."
Right.
Right? And I worked through
Mhm.
that. So that was like level 1 of what the epiphany I thought I had was about
Mm.
this
Level
friend.
level one of how many levels? Just to foreshadow.
Yeah.
Let's say 3.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good question.
Mhm.
So then what happened was, okay, so I, like, unblocked, got through that,
Yeah.
and then, you know how we are with the 3 of us where we only communicate things that we actually honestly feel. We're not gonna do a passive
Mm.
aggressive note. We're not gonna, like,
Right.
say everything's fine if everything isn't fine
Not
because that doesn't
right.
feel good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
We say
um
we say pause and reflect,
Yeah.
or what else do we say? We say other
like,
things
go
too.
within.
So how do we let each other know so we don't all so no one
Oh.
gets triggered? So there has to be something that we're saying so we're not triggered.
So when one of us triggers each other, we say, "I need some space to process," and
Yeah.
I haven't meditated on this yet
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
indicate
something
that
like
we
that.
have the intention, but we haven't yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if not triggered, triggered too, but, like, even when we're not triggered, I love how we all do that, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just
And I
being
wish there was
honest.
a different word that we could use, right, than triggered, because
Yeah.
it's such a, I don't want to say violent, but it's such an aggressive action to say.
Yeah.
It creates a victim, and it creates
Yeah.
It
an
can.
oppressor, right? And
Mhm.
but it's more like, y- the mirror in me is seeing something about me in the mirror of
I don't
you.
like it.
Right?
I don't like it. Okay. All right.
And
Something
I
we
don't
don't
like
like.
it, so yeah, I don't like that what that mirror is showing me, so I need to,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
need to look
Yeah.
at myself some more.
Right.
Yeah.
I need
Oh,
to get
that's right.
comfortable with that thing I just saw about
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Get out of that mirror. I need to look at myself for a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I love
Thank
that
you.
you brought in the mirror because that's related to,
Mhm.
I think, level 3 of
Okay.
the
Cool. I'm excited to hear about this.
so, so he had messaged, no, I hadn't seen it yet, and I
Mhm.
processed, and then I actually saw him again in person after he had triggered me,
Yeah.
like, after I had unblocked him, and again, it was a very brief interaction, but there was,
You really
like,
blocked him.
I blocked him.
You really did. Okay. Whoa.
Because in that moment, it was like, because that was part of me going like, "Put the wall up before I do something stupid."
Yeah. I know
That
what
was
you
Oh,
more
yeah.
mean.
Yeah, that was more about my self-control than well, it was a
Mhm.
little bit of like, "Get this man out of my life
'Cause
too."
you don't wanna respond negatively to something
Yeah.
that he might have sent after you were triggered, so yeah.
Or
Oh,
even
yeah.
just I hold
Hmm.
myself we hold ourselves to like a high standard of how we want to proceed going forward, and in that
Mhm.
space, I could feel the persona of me like the old habit of like, "Well, let me
Yeah.
just dig in," and
Yeah.
and unleash, and like, I didn't wanna do that to this poor soul.
Yeah. Right.
So so that happened, and then I saw him in person, and we had,
Yeah.
like, a very, brief it wasn't a long interaction, it was in a larger group setting,
Uh-huh.
but it was one of those, again, where, you made eye contact, like, loving connection, and and July just left.
Yeah. This-
Alright, so don't go that direction in the story.
Okay. Okay. So
So we'll wait for
pause.
her to come
That's the
back.
big mirror talking to us.
Yeah, it
The big
is.
mirror. Oh,
That's
wow.
fun. Alright.
Wow. I understand you blocking somebody. This is like, it helps me understand how you were feeling.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that since she's hosting it, that that we're still on it without her.
Yeah. She's here somewhere.
She'll be back.
Yeah, she'll be back.
This is so funny.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw a message from, I got an emoji message from somebody with two hands and a heart, and another emoji. It flashed by too fast, but somebody that we went to, this is so funny, AJ. So you were this mirror for me at the Heartland. Just remember this background, okay? And that person that I came to the Heartland with, just total raw. Oh yeah, I'll meet you. Like totally out of the ordinary for me, but following guidance. I said yes, I will meet you, and yes, I will go. But yeah, I if we would have been texting back and forth, I probably would have blocked you for that period of time.
Wow.
I
For the
know.
same, like, I can't have you in my life right now while I process.
I need to step back and understand why I feel so.
Sorry.
I'm not sure, you know? Oh my gosh.
So
Yes.
funny,
Okay.
July. Like you left and it was like God telling me, like, stop telling that part of the story. And then July and then Kay interjected with like a fantastic reminder that I have played this role for her. And she would have blocked me.
Aw.
Thank you for that. I learned. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me okay too? Okay.
Yes.
So okay, so then I saw him in person and okay, and then the next day I replied to in the like text chat and I wrote okay. And it surprised me that I wrote okay because I wasn't completely consciously aware at that point that I was okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing that I had written it and it felt right to write it, that meant that I was okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so last night, I'm journaling about it before bed and it's like 12 o'clock, midnight. And I'm thinking that the level 2 awareness to this phase, this experience was how I seek approval from other people. And it really brought back, the last manager that I had and all the emotions that I had around that experience of, and even going so far back, like my husband's 13 years older than me. He was further along in his career when we met. So I created that like superior, inferior dynamic. And the way that I brought value to myself that I decided, because my husband didn't decide this, but the way that I decided to bring value to myself was I will get his approval. Someone who is out of my league approves of me, that means I'm worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so my husband was out of my league academically because I was an undergrad and he was a grad student. And those are not two groups that really like commingle.
Right. Right.
And I got his approval. So that meant I was worthy because someone out of my league, like, responded. And so then I'm thinking about this individual and how he feels out of my league. And then so the awareness this morning is how to describe him. And I would say these things to him. I'm not going to like share secrets, but I'm sure he knows that I feel this way because we've talked about how thoughts are knowable. But it occurred to me today that he is pretty much like the Adonis embodiment, right? Like the Greek god of like beauty and desire. He has this level of physical beauty that's very pleasing to look at, and not in a like people don't have to be physically beautiful to be pleasing or to be beautiful. He has that component as well. His soul is beautiful and he embodies this physical beauty. So it's very epitomized. And so from that contrast of like he is an Adonis, right? Then that's someone else who is quote unquote out of my league.
Oh, okay.
So then I was seeking approval from him. And by the way, I have gotten approval from him in instances before, but my brain was like, more, more, more.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so this is interesting. Like, how much do I need? What are my rules around this? When will I be satisfied? And it turns out that this all loops back to self-love. Because with my previous manager, I also had gotten it and I wanted more and more and more. And I was getting it from this friend in person and I wanted more and more and more. And I wanted it digitally. And it basically was, I needed it moment by moment. I needed to be worthy and valuable moment by moment. So I need this person to approve of me moment by moment. And I went, whoa, if I just, this is a self-love thing. If
Mhm.
I flip it and say that I love myself and I am attracted to myself,
Mhm.
then in every moment, I'm going to make choices that I am attracted to. And wow, look at how I can be
Mhm.
in total alignment with myself, independent of what someone else thinks of me.
Yeah.
And especially because the video that I wanted him to see was a video where I am talking about my physical body, my physical features, my choices about my physical body. It
Mhm.
was definitely a need of, I need someone more attractive than me to tell me that these choices about my, it was like this whole convoluted, like, I need my beauty to be validated by someone who's beautiful.
Mhm.
Mm.
And then the third level was
Mhm.
like, holy shit, that's a mirror. Like,
Mhm.
we talk about mirrors as only being, this person is showing me something I don't like about myself, and that means they're a mirror. But really, everything is a mirror. So all the positive things that we see in other people are mirrors for us as well. So when I am seeing his physical beauty, when I am seeing his charisma, when I am seeing his magnetism, those are all things that I have and that he's reflecting back to me.
Mhm.
So it was just, that blew my mind. Like, this
Oh,
was,
I
it was
love
like
that.
10 a.m. last night, and it just kept going.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know what really is, I think people fail to realize is that when that happens, it shows. Do you guys remember the novel, The Scarlet Letter, or that story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so like the letter just burned through their chest for everybody to see when they were, in that act. But like that's really how we all are. We carry our letter, especially like the one you just described. And AJ, you have just been glowing lately.
Thank you.
You really have. Like the past couple weeks. And I'm going to say, I think it's safe to say, ever since you had been talking to us about all of those epiphanies, dealing with that, and amongst other things, including the conversation that we had last week, right? So, like, you can really see that you are um, like coming more into your self love. Um, and I think that that shows on everybody. We wear our confidence well.
Thank you. And it's like an important epiphany for us to have with our visions and our goal of what we are and what we can offer to the world. Like, how empowering for this lesson to come to me before we're introduced to these people who are out of our league financially and attractively and famously and talently, to really hone in and ground myself of, I give that worth to myself.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I'm so grateful that those people hadn't entered our lives yet, because this is how I had been reacting to one individual on a smaller scale of these things. Like, yeah, I was not ready for it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's an excellent story though. And it kind of is like almost like a continuation from the things that we discussed last week, the feelings that we get, and how normal all of this is. I love that I love how you are articulating all of this
Mhm.
because again, and I said it before, like a lot of people don't know how to do that. They keep it internalized, but
Mhm.
it really helps people to see that these are all normal emotions and they're valid. And usually people torture themselves by all of the mental chatter that they have, keeping it to themselves, right? But to see how other people cope with it and not just cope with it, but like overcome it the way that she just described is just like, yeah, I thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
July, I love how you shared that other people feel this way. And
Mhm.
I love AJ how you put it into a process. Like, okay, I feel this way, but I know there's a lesson to learn and I can get to what it is. I love how you broke it down, knowing it was basically life school.
And it kept going. I mean, I opened up the journal last night expecting to just relay what had already happened, for a memory exercise to have it documented for myself, and it kept going and it tied in. I mean, talk about the lesson of seeing the signs looking backward rather than looking forward.
Mm,
That was really beautiful.
yeah.
The witnessing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And Kay, what is SP squat? What does your shirt say? Is there a story behind that?
Oh, Sasquatch.
It does
Oh,
say
the
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch.
Yeah, Sasquatch.
I like that.
The short story is my husband and I used to work at this place, this cool amphitheater called the Gorge Amphitheater.
Mm.
And we used to, I talked about the boss I had last time. Every time we would get shirts, right? This is one of those shirts.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
yeah, it looks
It's
good.
called swag, right?
Yeah,
Swag.
it
It might have
does.
a different name now for the younger generation.
Yes.
This means stuff we all get, right?
Yeah. So, ladies, also too, I love how we were what I'm trying to remember what exactly we spoke of last week, which really I guess it doesn't matter. There was something that led us into that discussion that I knew that more people would want to know more about, which was, what I titled this Angel Talk and More. Um, how can we I guess like integrate that topic with
Mhm.
what we just discussed, because so many people are like looking for ways to understand themselves
Hmm.
within,
Mm.
right? Like everything that AJ just described, they don't even recognize that that's like something that other people deal with or would even, verbalize. So like for them to know that, I guess what I'm trying to say is it kind of reminds me of like us having as humans, us all having that divinity. Oh my gosh, look at the sun coming through.
I know, Kay. And just to remind people that we totally know that Kay is drawing beautiful art while we are talking. It is part of the process, and she is 100% attending to us
I'm
in the
paying
ways
attention.
she
Yeah.
needs to. It's so beautiful. You gotta
I
That
halo
is,
love
it.
the sun coming in, Kate.
I love,
It's
yeah,
beautiful.
it
So
comes over
there's
this
an intuitive
ridge.
message right there. Is as you're saying, how do we integrate it, July? Like
There it is.
noticing the beauty in the moments in our life and then tying it to the thoughts that we've just had. That light flickered on because I had an empowering thought, or like for me it's spiders, which is really funny because I hated spiders as a kid. But
Yeah.
I have accepted that they are weavers and storytellers, and so they show up when a story that I've been telling myself in my life has changed. And like we don't really get tarantulas in central San Diego, but do you ladies remember that one night I was leaving the beach, I was leaving Coronado, and I was gonna come home, and I'm driving at nighttime, and this big ass tarantula is driving, like walking up the outside
Of the car.
right side of my windshield. I just like pulled over in a gas station barefoot because I had sandals on, and there were like two men outside. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's a spider. I don't want to kill it, but I don't want to take it to my home.
Oh my gosh. Did they
Wow.
did they remove it?
Yeah, there was like a luggage rack up top, and it had already like oriented itself underneath, like prepared for high wind velocity, and so they like brushed it, and I was like, make sure it's not in the wheel well, and it like
Yeah.
scurried off. But since then, when my mom and I took a trip to Sedona, like these two or three huge ass spiders were hanging out on the floor right outside the screen door.
Oh.
Like a little spider was in the tub last night. I went on a walk this morning, and this huge spider was on the wall next to the door. And then when I was coming home, it was like it kept kind of almost falling from the ceiling where I had to walk under. And I'm like, no, you're gonna go somewhere else now.
Yeah.
But like seeing this thing that I used to really freak out by and being like, okay, this isn't like universe. Spiders are cool. They're not allowed to touch me. Like I had one run across my keyboard. I'm like, how did it even get there without me knowing it was there? But I was
Right.
telling a story, and it
Yeah.
was so it's like spiders are cool. I get it. It's about the storytelling, but they're not allowed to touch me. Like that's my
Mhm.
boundary. Like You can be nearby. I'm safe. So
Mm.
that's an intuitive message for me is spiders.
Yeah, mine goes a little different. I'm like, we have an agreement. They know that if they enter my space, they're ready to enter their next life.
Oh, I love how you said that.
Mm.
Well, there's that minute clip right there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I
like,
used to have my husband and I first started living together. He hates spiders. So one time he caught a spider and it got free, and so they put a bounty out for the spider because they didn't want to see that spider again, and it was like this big. So when I got home, I was the bounty hunter.
oh my
And I didn't know anything about, signs. Now I would pick that spider up probably with a piece of paper and carefully put it outside into some flowers or something. But I
God.
was hunting back then in those days, and I am sorry, dear spider, that I hunted you. But yeah, a lot of people are afraid of spiders, but we see these moments as probably now more than ever signs from messages, things that reiterate questions we've put out into the universe, right? Like, please show me a sign. And the next thing you know, the spider goes, and we're asking now, was that right to left? Okay, so I should be receiving in something, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're digging into it more, and it just makes us ask more questions.
Yeah.
I love how July said that. She's like, that's not the rules of how I play.
That's
No,
right.
no,
Those are
right?
everybody else's, and then mine goes that other way.
Yeah,
But they know it, like, and that's the beauty of like the universe improv, right? Is that
Yeah.
you assign what the rules are, and you
Yeah.
know that means that if they show up, there's going to be a certain course of action,
yeah.
and they've made
Like
that choice.
the guy that developed the lie detector test, right?
Yeah.
He stopped working for the CIA, the rumor has it, because he wanted to do more good, right? So he started to hook it up, and it just changes electromagnetically inside of your body. Something gives the signals, right, to that little needle. And so they would put it on plants, and he wanted to know if the plants could, tell what was going on. And he thought of a match. Like, it made me think of you, AJ, the spider. You thought of, man, I'm going to be driving really fast. I'm going to get home really fast. And the spider was like, high velocity, and it went and hid. So like they know, like just thing we talked about last week, the thoughts that we have are filed out into the record place, the genius field, and the plants, the animals, the insects, they're aware probably even before we finish that thought.
That's a
Yeah.
beautiful tie-in. There's do you ladies know who Neil Gaiman is? He's an author.
No.
He wrote Stardust, which turned into a movie, but he has these other um he's a beautiful magic with his
Okay.
words. And he has a book. If there was a period in my life where I would read a book of his like on an adventure. So I went to in graduate school, I paid to go to a conference in the Netherlands that my advisors would not cover because I wasn't presenting. And I networked, and that's how I got my postdoc with like this renowned professor, because I took these steps. And so the book that I took for that journey was called The Anansi Boys. And do you know who Anansi is? Like
No.
from a fable? Yeah. Kay, do you
No.
want to share like who he is?
Well, I might get it wrong, so fill in the blanks. But I read it as a kid's book, and it was that Anansi is the creator of all. Like Anansi is a spider, July,
Is
and
it?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it's from it's an African tale, right?
I don't know
Passed
what
down
part of the world.
generation to generation. So
And
I need to look it up.
a verbal tale that people would tell around, you know, nightly fires to
Maybe that
teach.
will help me not feel the way I feel about spiders if
it
I
helped
look at
me.
a spider as
Yeah, it
a
helped me
creator.
too. Yeah,
And
interesting.
he's a trickster often in the tales. So he'll want something from another animal, and he'll, you know, negotiate deals where he has like spun webs so that the deal he doesn't have to deliver. And spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read the Anansi Boys and wants to. I know you lady, it's not going to affect you.
Mhm.
But so in that story, the father is like this jokester, I think Irish kind of like storyteller. And he would always
Mhm.
engage in like magical song and then weave a tale, which we know is like the power of word and prayer. And
Yeah.
he had these sons. And anyway, the final scenes of that were so beautiful because the human, and they all had like animal-like features. The human is down in this cave with all these other animals, which to me represented the animals from the actual tales of these childhood stories. And
Mhm.
he is seeing the conflict of these like long-standing strife between the different animals. And he
Mhm.
just he like steps into and embodies his father's power of singing a song and through the song weaving this whole new web, like intricate web of
Mhm.
coexistence and harmony and peace and everyone winning. I've got goosebumps everywhere because it was
Yeah.
such a powerful metaphor to like read and to see that unfold.
Mm.
So ever since then I've enjoyed spiders.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I need to check that story out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. You know what, guys? I think that what both of you were talking about is like a good subject matter when it comes to us kind of like understanding like direction to go or leaning into our intuition.
Mm-hmm.
um I forgot what it was that Kay said, but even just this story, that was brought up, and oh, I guess it was because I don't know why I'm having a brain fart right now. I want to blame everything on on that time in the
It's you're being
but
redirected. You're being
yeah,
redirected. That's all this is.
yeah. But really, no, I thought that it would be really good to show people um, what are some of the ways that we use to help us to decide like what choice to go with between two choices, or which decision or which direction we may want to take, even if it's quite literal, like Kay talked about last week with the grasshopper. And then and then AJ mentioned my camera disappearing, and then how it made her kind of like change the direction of her story. I
And I'm
really
about
think
to do
we
this
need
to
to
you again
elaborate on.
too. I'm
Yeah.
about to do this to you again too, and it'll actually answer that question with
Okay.
a decision and an action. Is that um, I actually need to use the restroom,
Okay.
and I had been postponing it to stay on the call, and
Okay.
it's like, why would I? This is a moment for me to exit and to come back, and it's timed for a reason. And me
Yeah.
ignoring it means that I'm not taking an action I'm supposed to take, and I'm experiencing discomfort in a prolonged manner. So,
Always
right?
about self-care. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm
always.
gonna hop off and actually physically leave, and then I'll come back when I'm done.
Okay.
All right, in a few minutes.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
Okay.
cue
Okay.
the break music, July.
I know, right? Some little Jeopardy.
Uh,
I
yeah. Oh my goodness.
know.
Remember, that reminds me of a while back, we had the same thing happen, remember? In one of our calls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When she had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, but she didn't
Yeah.
say anything. Yeah, and we were both like, "What's wrong?" And
Yeah.
now,
And it
yeah,
was just
right?
that she really needed to
And
go.
she's like, It's time for me to go." And
Yeah.
we were both like, to the conclusion where
Yeah.
I think it not like it made us both reflect and say, "Is there anything that I said? Is there something that
Mhm.
I" Yeah,
Mhm. And
and
then
nothing.
so it makes you think like, okay, am I really reading things right? Like that's what
Yeah.
I want to talk to people about. I want people to kind of like
She
uh
gave us this big gift, July.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like,
can
you don't know where somebody's
Mhm.
coming from. I guess that's where I'm at, is when you learn that something is a message for you,
Yeah.
usually it's because you stop filling in the blanks and telling the other person's story. You just
Mhm.
receive. You don't know where anyone's coming from, right? Especially strangers.
Mhm.
You don't know. And
Yeah.
so, especially if somebody acts out of proportion to the situation, you don't know. Even somebody you do know,
Mhm.
you don't know what's going on in their mind.
Right.
If you were a spider or a plant, you might,
Yeah.
but you don't. Yeah,
It's always best to let them fill in the blanks.
absolutely.
Yeah.
To tell their story. Yeah.
Because there's
Like,
so much that they can give that we have no, we don't
and it
we
has
don't
to
have any
do with
knowledge of it.
them. It has to do with them, and that's the
Yeah.
human experience. Is we
Yeah.
take these things in as, well, what did I do? What did I say? Gosh,
Right.
but it's not. It's taking care of yourself to take yourself out of that story and put them in
Mhm.
and say, hey, how's it
Mhm.
going? Yeah.
Mhm. I think that it all has to do with us recognizing that when we look at things in a way that was even talked about earlier,
Mhm.
instead of that person being a reason why we are whatever we're going to deem ourselves as, it's always about going within or just concerning ourselves with what's on this side of your aura inside rather than
Mhm.
the things on the outside, because
Mhm.
what we can control are the things on the inside, you know?
I think that's probably why we feel pretty confident in most
Yeah,
situations. And if we start to feel unwavering,
yeah.
um, it's because we have that solid grounding in, wait a second, let me just be in
Mhm,
this moment and take it
mm,
in
mhm.
and take in the messages as either answers to things we've asked for or
Yeah,
more messages for things that we should reflect on. But it's
mhm,
more about, I'm going to go in and find out, what's that saying people use? What about this isn't mine?
mhm.
Because if you start forgetting that you're, an
Yeah,
atom with a bunch of different atoms,
right.
and you start feeling the other atom's energy, you stop understanding what's going on and you just start feeling. But if you just
Mhm.
hold that, steady for a moment, anchor yourself in that moment, you can kind of breathe through it and say, okay, it's almost like, I feel like it's a, not spidey senses, but I bet
Yeah.
maybe, like AJ has talked about that before with her kids,
Yeah, yeah.
like,
Right.
but it's like having those senses of, wait a second, there's more to this here. I want to understand it. And
Yeah,
then you feel like you're in that space of love,
yeah.
ready to learn the life lesson. Ah, this is what
Mhm.
I came here for, that kind of thing.
Right. And it's so funny because I think the more we are tapped in and tuned in to all of that, we start to learn what's ours and what's not ours
Hmm.
more and more.
And most
Um,
empaths think it's all theirs.
yeah, they have, okay, she says
Oh,
she's back.
she's back.
Oh, there,
Cool.
okay.
Yay.
I love that you said that most empaths do think that. Okay, welcome back. We're just
Yay.
talking
Hi.
about like, when we are having thoughts, learning which ones are really ours and which ones are
Mm,
foreign, right?
mhm.
Mhm.
Which ones are like alien residents in our heads.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
um, I was telling you ladies about the weekend that I had. Well, okay, you weren't on the call yet, but you know how I've been just like really doing a whole lot of self-care in addition to helping others with their self-care.
Mhm.
And it just opened up all these portals. And usually that makes me tired, but this gave me so much like it was I felt like that clear blue water that we all love,
Mm.
that we talk about. It's really iridescent, but I usually see it mostly overall as blue. And that's the feeling that it gave me, which kind of like does it kind of remind you of the ball? That ball
Yeah.
kind of looks like that a little bit. So and that's why it made me feel that way. Okay. So
I I love that ball. You're talking about the post that you put out for
yeah,
the the big healing that you did. Yeah. And then
yeah,
there was a
that one.
comment somebody left, or they could feel it and they They
Yeah.
were reverberating and they didn't quite know what to do, but they just
Yeah.
sat in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that.
So yeah, oh, that was Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay. So wow, I had all these downloads. You know how stuff like that makes you have, the portals, the downloads, right? So going back to, what thoughts are yours and what thoughts aren't. So this morning there was like this moment of clarity where you're like half awake but half sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had like all of these downloads come through, but all of these voices as
Mm.
well, and so many things were being said. Now, usually when that happens, usually most people think that that's them, you know, but you're receiving messages in those moments. And I kind of wanted to bring that out because I know that we're not the only ones who have this kind of experience. I know that people hear those things, but they like
You
look at
just got
this.
confirmation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so, I have goosebumps. It's so serendipitous. It's always synchronous, right?
Mhm.
I watched some TED Talks. You guys know that. You ladies know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I gave you some art because I pay attention with art. And I listened to TED Talks about voices in your head
Mhm.
and how our society, when you said that, I was like, she just said voices in her head. Our society, our culture treats those voices as though they need to be medicated and silenced.
Mhm.
And I have always had voices in my head. And I've told you, ladies, that I thought I could not share them. I knew at a very young age you did not talk about the messages you received because
Mhm.
that was schizophrenia.
Mhm.
And it's not.
Mhm.
If people are hearing voices that are about self-harm, of course, ask for help.
Mhm.
But if you're hearing voices that are telling you, like downloads,
Yep.
sweet messages like a nudging little kitten, that's what I've always
Mhm.
heard is if it sounds more like a kitten, you know that it's of your essence. If it's different than that, then it may be interference.
Mhm.
But yeah, tell us more about your voices and your downloads.
So one of them helped me to remember. I'm gonna go back to yesterday. Yesterday, I was having this. You know how you're like yearning for something, but you don't know what, and you can't like put your finger on it, and you're like, "What am I supposed to be doing right now?" So I just kind of like turned off the YouTube video that I kept watching over and over again, kind of like with the whole law of opulence. Um, I turned that off and I stopped checking my social media and I decided to just tune in. And then the voice reminded me that I am actually supposed to be posting to my other YouTube channel. And it made me feel so whole again. Like, I love that. It made me feel so whole again. Like I was almost lost. Have you ever gotten to a point where you feel like I thought I had it all together? I might have even woken up this morning and I had it all together. And now all of a sudden, for some reason, I'm like, what am I doing with my life?
That pendulum swing or
Yeah.
that up and down oscillation, depending on how you want to think of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, like you described last week. Yeah.
I know this isn't your favorite word, but those moments help me
Yeah.
feel humble. Like
Yeah.
we used
We're
to
going to make
call
it
it
her favorite word.
in construction, we used to call it 0 to hero. Sometimes you're a hero and the next moment you're a zero. Like this guy told me once, he was a lineman and he would climb up the pole and he was putting his metal, the clamp-ons on the boots,
Yeah.
1 foot up, next foot up, up, 1 foot
Yeah.
in, next foot in, up, and he kept going up
Yeah.
until he got to the top, and he went over the post, and the next thing he knew, he was flying backwards into a bunch of trees.
Whoa.
And he told me one day, his name was Doug, you know, sometimes you're a hero, and the next moment you're zero. So it's just that moment of humility or
Yeah.
humbleness where you're
Yeah.
on top of the world. I've got this. I know what I got all the messages, and then the next thing you know, you're like,
Yeah. Back at square one.
yeah. So what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But I think that that's an illusion too, is that, and it's so like all the things that you're talking about, even the schizophrenia and the voices, and like those are aspects of the story that I'm gonna tell in 3 weeks.
Oh,
Isn't that amazing? Just the schizophrenia is a small like sideline to contrast with depression, but I think that that's synchronous that we're talking about it here. That it's an illusion.
Mental illness.
Well, the illusion that we're back at square one.
Mhm.
Because really we're not back at square one. It's
Mhm.
like, I like to think of it as like a box of expansion almost, right? Like when we're on that edge of the box of expansion, it's very obvious. And then that box will expand really far and all of a sudden we're in the middle. And I feel like that's to me when I feel like I'm square one. But that middle is different than the middle down here from the previous space of expansion.
Yep.
But it's that I heard a podcast where she basically said there's like the expansion phase and then the integration phase. And the integration phase is never going to feel like the expansion phase because you're integrating it so that you can be prepared for the next expansion. So it's like reminding us we're not at square one. We're about to make a huge another leap. Yeah.
It's like
But
you're
it feels like
increasing
it.
your voltage, your potential. And once you increase it, you can never go back, right?
These two huge birds just flew really close to my window. They never were that close.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, when I used to be a boot camp instructor, I used to help people, you know, with their weight loss goals and their fitness goals. And I would always tell them you have to take pictures every step of the way because you're going to have times where you kind of like, you know, fall off a little bit. And I don't want you to think that you started over at square one. If you have your picture is going to show you square one. When you fall off a little bit, don't think that you're back at square one. You'll clearly see that you no longer look like what you did back there, right? So now just pick up where you left off and be okay with that. And know that you are continually expanding, evolving, you know. And in that case, you hit a little bump. And the other thing that's a really good analogy with this, I think it parallels really well, is that you actually break a plateau really quickly when you stop either eating well or working out. When you hit a little pause, your body doesn't know how to take that because you had been doing so well all along. So now when you throw this like wrench in the clockwork, the body is like, what are we doing? And then you pick back up. And so it just kind of like it releases and allows you to start like, you know, it allows the metabolism to pick back up again.
Wow. And this also brings to an analogy that an epiphany I had many years ago about what it means to be genius, which is that when you've embodied something, it's easy. It's different than what you're saying, where you're like kind of falling off, but more of like what Kay is talking about of feeling like we're at square one or being in the middle of the box. Is that like we all know what the work of expansion feels like. We know what it feels like to be challenged and to be struggling and to be like, I don't know, some people might be making that be the like 24 hours without sleep to get a deadline kind of thing, right? Where they're like, go, go, go. And it's exciting and it's adrenaline and you know that you're doing great. And then that's not sustainable. And so then there's that like rest phase, or that it's actually the integration, the ease phase, right? Like my husband has always said that he really values how I think about things differently. But I'm like, but what does that mean? Can you give me an example? Because I don't know I'm thinking about things differently. I'm only doing what I know how to do. And then I realized that's like the idea of genius is really other people judging it to be valued and worthy. The genius themselves aren't sitting there like the good geniuses. I mean, like some people do this, but it's ego driven. But the like in the flow geniuses aren't sitting there going, how can I be a genius right now? What is the thought that I can have that can be the epiphany that's going to be this massive breakthrough? That's not what it is at all. The genius flow, the genius field comes easily, effortlessly, so much so that the person doing it doesn't even know that they're doing it. Like, how many interviews have I read or heard with a skilled writer, a skilled actor, a skilled photographer, a skilled whatever? And the question invariably comes, how did you get to be this good? And the answer is usually some version of, this is how I'm wired.
Right.
And we're all wired that way. But we think that it's only some people and that it has to be done in a certain way. But it's literally leaning into the easiest way that the thoughts come to you. That is your genius.
I
Like,
love
put
that.
some play into it, and that's your genius.
That's magic to my soul. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like people observe you and you won't even know. They tell you things and it can be overwhelming. And you're like, wow, I hadn't even noticed. Right? And I've had that happen on both ends of the spectrum, like just with things that I'm going through, like hardships. And I'm like, oh my God, do not recount those things to me, because I'm going to have a nervous breakdown if I think about all of that. Like, I endured all of that. Like, are you serious? I'm just going through it, and like, not, I didn't mean it in that way, but like, I'm somehow being carried. Well, not somehow, but you know what I mean? Like, it's a protection, and people just need to lean in more to who they are. It's so beautiful when you are just yourself. So many people want to be something other than themselves. People are afraid to be who they are. But who we are at our core, everybody is just so beautiful, like breathtakingly beautiful when you can just be that. And so AJ didn't even know, and her husband is telling her that, like, basically what he's saying is, I see your beauty. I see your beauty. And you're like, well, what does that mean?
Tell me.
So that I can find it and do it more often. And it's like, that's not how that works.
Yeah, it's that glow, like AJ, like July told you, you're glowing lately. It's that being in touch with your essence of what it is that keeps you in flow, or keeps you creative, or helps you feel alive and ready to love the world because you love yourself. That beauty.
This conversation is it's just like so high vibe.
And it is that moment, right? Like where you get goosebumps, like that high vibe moment, right? It's the goosebump moments, and you get it from people that you're around, and that is truly, those moments are why we're here. Like they say, when you die, those ominous days, or anonymous, let's call them anonymous days, that when you pass, or when people have near-death experiences, NDEs, that they feel that vibration. So it's so much pleasure, it's so much goosebumpness, that they know that they'd rather stay there than come back, because it's so full of love, and I think we all three of us experience that.
It's that blue liquid. It's that
and
blue
if we're
liquid.
not experiencing it, we're trying to figure out, right, where. Let's get back to that. How do we get back to that?
That's the feeling every time our feet are in that iridescent liquid. That's how I feel. I imagine that's what NDEs feel like. It has to be.
Like letter. What's the NDE?
Near-death
experience.
Got it.
Yeah. When they don't want to come back. Now, here's someone who may have just been like hit by a truck, or in a fire or something, right? And so they black out and they don't even know what's going on
Mm-hmm.
while everyone on the outside is suffering,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But internally, that person is like, if you want to say heaven, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
As a just a description, not a real
Mm-hmm.
place. But yeah, like the feeling that comes from that is just,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I imagine it to feel like, because in our moments since we have, been apart, I can't even say anymore since we have created GI. I really, it just doesn't even feel like it's something that we created. Even right now, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm having an out of body experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun just came through and like my video was glitching. Like I'm not even moving the same as I am in real time. And so like I don't even feel like we are the ones who created that. And but ever since we have been a part of I get glimpses of that, especially that liquid. And then like, more and more when I
I just think, like, can we call can we just say, like, the iridescence? Because,
the
like,
air that sounds
without without,
The
like, the
clear.
pause without the
Yeah.
pause of, like, that liquid, people are gonna be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
yeah, they don't know what I'm talking about.
Like, what is
Maybe
it,
we should
beer?
talk
Is it,
Okay.
like
maybe we
It's a
should talk about
space
it.
that,
A person
okay, so
didn't know.
imagine you go to like
it's a
that clear
meditation
water.
space. Yeah.
You talked about that clear water, July, that
Yeah,
just the clear water that makes you just want to lay back and float in it and feel free.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I see all the little things floating around.
Mhm.
Hey, isn't that beautiful?
The orbs.
Joy, I think this is a really great transition to ask you
Yeah,
to say more because I had a synchronicity about it as well.
yeah.
If I can quote you from our group text, it feels okay.
Sure.
That you said yesterday, I can't, my muscles like are sore from,
I love it. That means we're having such a good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
um, that's what it feels after I leave like an hour of improv,
yeah.
like watching it. I'm like,
Cheek
um,
sores.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in our chat yesterday, you said something along the lines of like, your higher self is trying to pull you forward with this, and you're just wanting to go too slow, and your higher self is like, come on, let's
Yeah,
get there.
yeah. Wants to snatch me and yank me. Get over here. Because I was talking about like, wealth. Like, okay, so just being very transparent. Like, it's so obvious that we are moving in a certain direction.
Mhm.
And I have been moving in this
Mm-hmm.
direction ever since, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
probably since about 2018. I've had so many things come and go. And so the way I described it to these ladies, I'll describe it to you guys. I've had wealth knock at my door numerous times. And I've even had a firm grasp on it, only for it to slip through my fingers a few times. And so because I know where I'm going deep down, it's scary. It's
Ah.
really scary. And so and then there are times where I am battling myself. So Kay had mentioned that I don't like the word humble. I'm battling myself because I know that if I shrink down into a certain version of me, I'm not going to be as big as I'm meant to be. But I still run from it all. I still
Mm-hmm.
run from it all. So I made that analogy, and I told them, I'm like, wealth knocks at the door, and I won't even answer it. Sometimes I won't answer it. I'm afraid to answer it. And that's when I said my higher self is like, I'm inching slowly more and more toward my higher self, and she's about ready to snatch and yank me now.
And you said
Mm-hmm.
that, and you know what? I mean, I'm feeling it right now too. And back to it always ties. I feel like the like intuition cues isn't a separate conversation for us. It is like
Yeah,
always going.
yeah,
So you said that, and I'm feeling it right now. For me, it's tension and pain in my calves. And my calves for 10 years, I mean, I've been getting massages and there's always knots in my calves. And when you said that about, when you sent that message, I pulled out my Louise Hay quick book of like, okay, sensations in parts of the body, what does it mean? And it was basically like fear of the future, fear of stepping forward. And so are you comfortable? Do we want to workshop a little bit live about what these fears are? Do we want to shift it live?
That sounds
Yeah,
good.
because we're fearless, so it needs to be something we lean into.
Yeah. So what is it, July, if you want to start, like what is the level of awareness that you have around that? And are you okay with me and Kay kind of interrupting you as we get like the epiphanies to ask?
Oh, yes. That's probably why I came in my pajamas and I'm just going to be relaxed and be comfortable today. So I know personally for me, one of the things is leaving a comfort zone. Like I mentioned in that text message, I asked my guides, will I still get to have peace, quiet, and stillness? Right? It's going to be loud once it happens in every sense of the word. And that's just what I know about like my, as far as my outcome, my personal, individual part is going to be loud. So I'm afraid of that. I'm also, now we're going to get very vulnerable here if you ladies are ready for this. I remember my mom, I have a limiting belief that I have to get past. So in my religion, we had to be very modest, dressed. The women did not want to do anything to make it difficult for the men because, everybody was, you know what I mean? Like you either, if you're going to be in a relationship, it's going to be something that leads to marriage. And if you are married, then you need to respect your mate. And so you don't need to be having, gazing eyes and all that. So when I was a young girl, my mom used to be she stayed on me about the way I dressed. Whenever we would go shopping for me, she would say things like, July, you can't, you can't do that to these poor men. She would say stuff like that. And one time she said something to me that I will never forget. And I have to work through that. This is, I consider this a form of, trauma that I'm working through is, asking for attention that you're not ready for. So, and then like there's a time when one of my best friends, she said, July, we were created as a gift. The woman, her body, everything is supposed to be beautiful. Don't play it down. Right? So like balancing all of that has been difficult for me over the years. I'm very, like, I hide my body a lot.
Same.
Yeah, I hide it a lot because I'm afraid of the attention. And the religion has badgered me. Like, no, right? Like, you can't look a certain way or do certain things. So now that I have the freedom to be who I want, not that I want to be a stripper or nothing like that. And the only reason why I said that is because my sister-in-law once joked with me and said, if you weren't in the religion, you would be a stripper. I'm like, no, I wouldn't. I thought that was so stupid. But anyway, like, I don't know, like I don't know if you guys ever heard me say in that one video, like I'm learning to accept who I am and understand my sexuality and all of that and being okay with that.
Yeah.
So that was long. I'm sorry. I know it was.
That wasn't long at all. And a lot of what you're saying resonates for me as well. In terms of like, just so much cultural baggage as well, even outside that your religion, so much cultural baggage of, are you sure that's the attention you want to or if you put yourself out there, you're going to get the attention that you want, but you're also not going to be able to control that. It's going to be a different kind of there's going to be a wide gamut of the attention. And I mean, certainly I have beautiful daughters.
Yes.
Okay, like
That's precious.
there's this like the fear that I had to heal of, will me being out there put them in danger because the world is going to know who they are.
Aw.
And yeah, so I feel it, and that's part of being confronted with this Adonis in my life has really like leaned into, okay, well, if I can accept the beauty in someone else and I can treat it with respect and I know how I show up, it's like an example of how we can show up, how I can show up in my beauty and be that for someone else. And then especially as we're learning that we are going to be working with men in some capacity, not necessarily exclusively, but yeah, being calm and confident and comfortable with our sexuality and allowing ourselves to be that pillar for men to come forward and learn how to confront our beauty in a respectful manner so that they can be calm and confident and comfortable in their sexuality, because the sexuality is the creativity. And then, I have, not to cut you off, I feel like you
No, I'm
felt
loving
like
what
you were
you're
done.
saying. Yeah, I'm done.
The the last job that I had, I wasn't the ideas person. And I really hated that the company celebrated the ideas person. I'm like, that's really great that some person in a meeting said, this is what we're going to do. I was the details person. Like, people got to get stuff done,
Yeah.
and so I was putting myself in that behind the scenes role. And July, you'll remember that when we were at the Heartland and I was talking about my vision of working with like in the movie industry and helping to build these loving containers for movies that get developed, I kept telling you I would be in the background. People wouldn't know who I was. And you had this clear vision of someone receiving an Oscar or an award and naming me and saying that I would be a household name. I had to really work with that. That was
Yeah.
the beginning of me being told that I myself will be famous.
Yeah. You're not a
And what
behind the person.
and what the But like what that word means, right? Like I grew up in the 90s where it was the images that I remember of famous women were the girls that grew up in Disney and then became hypersexualized and destroyed by the paparazzi, right? Miley Cyrus, Britney Spears, I mean, not so much Disney, but Paris Hilton, like that cohort and others like them. These women that were once valued and kind of slotted into a role and then chewed up and spat out. And really, like, I mean, like, we all remember Princess Diana, right? And her death and the savagery around that. And so, right around the time that you had that vision of that person acknowledging me, I started intuitively, like, doing these healings where it was literally healing the schema of the paparazzi and becoming aware that paparazzi needed to exist as it did in that form in the 90s because it was before social media and it was a way to lift the veil of fake and show people a version of this is who this person actually is. Now, it was done in a manipulative way. Absolutely. It wasn't pure of heart, but it served a role, to show people these are your false idols when you're watching them in movies. But look, it's also just a person. This is what they look like when they're going to the grocery store. And so we're all aware of these trauma stories of people who get hyper famous and then get thrust into that life that they didn't want that aspect of it. And the empowering version for me has been like, that's not what it will be for us. We can decide what it is. We know the energy behind it. We know how to set intentions. We know how to clear it. We know how to expect a reality that doesn't currently exist, that says we will have respectful fans. We will have people who are grateful to see us, that love to come up to us and love to give us the space that we want.
Yeah.
And I guess there's just, there must be a little bit of me somewhere that's still like, but are you sure you're that powerful? are you sure that you're capable of creating that reality that doesn't currently exist? And so,
More than capable.
right, of course we are. We all are, but
That's
there's
why
that like,
we're here.
yeah,
That's why we're here.
yeah.
Uh-oh.
Right? Like, capable or not, you either meet the sorry, I just jaw drop moment, mic drop.
Okay. Your can you tell your
Again,
there you are. You're in and out, okay?
Am I? So
Yeah.
I just revealed you're here to accept the call, and you use the word capable. Yeah, there's no doubt, no fear.
for all three of us. Like,
Mhm.
and that's, I mean, for the people watching this, not one of us wanted to be working with men
Right.
because there's that visceral unsafeness about it that was
Yeah.
the programming for us to move through. And it's like, if it's not us, then who? And I think this really ties back to last week when we talked about buzzing our hair and putting up walls and boundaries and saying, I don't want to step into that role yet. I don't want to be seen. And now here we are where we have the support of each other. We are empowered. We know our internal strength and the tools and the infrastructure that it's time. Like, we have to step into that role.
Yeah.
And we're happy to.
Very happy. Very happy too.
We may just need to pause a lot more often, just from my zone of reference. More pausing.
Yeah.
Reach more deeper into that toolbox is what I'm doing.
Yeah, it definitely helps. It definitely helps. Gosh, what's going on with our technology? There's so much frequency. So much frequency, and it's so beautiful behind you, Kay.
It's the sunshine.
I
It's
love
Sunday
it.
sunshine school. Yeah.
Yes, right? It
Yeah.
feels like therapy for me. And the
Oh,
little
yay.
orbs going by and everything. It's just so perfect right now.
Yeah. All these things that are listening to us right now, right?
Yeah.
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 So let's lean into the action steps, right? Because that's the
Okay.
final phase of the like we acknowledge and we recognize the things that we want to get through. So then what are the empowerment action steps that we can give ourselves in this coming week, all three of us, to really
Yeah, don't
like,
steal
let's
the
show the
sunshine.
universe. Let's show the universe I'm ready and I'm in and I'm ready to be seen.
Ooh, my
Like, what does
stomach
that
just
next
got
phase
nervous.
look like for each of us? And it's going to be different for each of us because we're all at different places at different comfort levels. And so it's not about matching each other, but about what is the next step that each of us is comfortable taking, or maybe a little bit uncomfortable taking, but willing to lean into, that takes us there.
So go ahead.
Pausing. That's just summarizing it as pausing. A lot of pausing and reflecting.
Pausing and reflecting. And I'm just the opposite. Yeah, it's weird. The only reason why I say I'm just the opposite because I've been pausing and reflecting since 2018. And I think that it's time for me to, I know this is going to sound funny. It's time for me to be more bold. You know what I mean? Like, as far as really stepping into who I really am. You know what I mean? That's what yeah.
And that's what I mean by pausing is not coming from my I've been such, I know this is probably woo-woo language, but low level masculine, like do, go, 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 my whole life. That pausing is an important step for me to step into the There's something to understand here and listen,
Mm.
and then to take action. So not like a total, okay, I'm just going to go take a nap. I'll see you ladies later.
No, I
It's
know.
more like a, do more healings, do more self-care, do more meditation, do more action from the inside out,
Mhm.
than take action as a reaction to what's
Mhm.
happening outside of me.
And you have what, 1 week left, or are you done? And then like you have a
I know.
scheduled pause that is coming up that is exactly what you're saying in a big
Oh
way.
yeah, totally by faith. I just gave notice and I gave it a year. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm always a long-term employee, always loyal. And I took a step into this small business to learn, what is it like for a small business? What are the priorities that I want to have?
Mhm.
And so I've seen it from the inside out, outside in, and it's been beautiful. And I gave my notice, and I'm like, I started this job by saying, I don't really want to work with a lot of men.
Mhm.
And I couldn't believe I said that out loud and they were fine with it. And then all of these men kept coming for me to work with. And then I said,
I'm
finally,
just
the
going to cut you off for a
conversation.
second because this rainbow behind you,
Mhm.
it flashed blue for a second, it was white, and now I'm seeing gold, green, and purple
Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, it's
in this.
huge. Okay,
It's
yeah.
so beautifully like fractaling.
Yeah, okay. Do you want it back? It
I
just
I
keeps
I
growing.
just wanted to
Okay.
say the colors that I was seeing
Yeah,
as you were talking because to me those
thank
colors
you.
are angelic colors, and so
Yep.
Yeah, and for me, the colors are really important because it tells me where I can go do more work or where I can receive more
mm,
messaging. Yeah. Thank you
I
for that.
didn't mean to cut you off. So you said that you took this job saying you didn't want to work with mostly men.
I did. I walked in and so the things that our body does, right? We talked about
Yeah.
that in the last episode. That happens with me more often is I will
Stand up.
stand in a place of solitude and say, um, when I say solitude, I mean like I'm not going to just blah when I walk in. I'm really going to listen. And I go in with that intention. I'm here to listen, to understand, to learn. And then things like that will come out of my mouth and I just want to cover my mouth because that's not it, it's not comfortable for me to just say this is what I want. It hasn't been me ever.
Jill,
And so
are you
now I
also
That
say,
the
you said it was-
that sun? You
Even
can't.
though you closed it.
okay, no matter what, I keep trying to close it. Okay.
You are basking in so much support and love right now. You
Yes.
can't. You can't like.
You can't
Yeah, and
even stop it if you wanted to.
I'm like hot right now. Like my whole
Yeah.
body is just like
It started
vibrating.
golden
Yeah.
too, and then it went back to the rainbow, and you've got the green. It's just, and there's look at the one on her right shoulder right
Yeah,
here.
I see it. I see it.
Uh,
Oh my
so
goodness,
it's just
it's
a
got wings.
Yep.
yeah, I know, and it's so I'm ready to be um just to have faith. And
Mhm.
what was said in a conversation that we had was, well, maybe we're not enough for you. And I said, well, maybe I'm too much for you.
Mhm.
And it was a very loving conversation. And I said, and that's okay. So let's put in place somebody that can do the work for you because I'm here to do the work for me. And that's where I'm headed. And they were like, that's great. That's great. And so flash forward a couple weeks and I say to them, have you done anything to find someone to replace me yet? And I'm serving 3 roles right now. Like this is a small company and people are dropping off like flies. And I'm like, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. And I'm like learning that, wow, I have a lot of really cool low level masculine energy left in me. Like I will do for others. And I know that I'm at the point where I am doing for me and for the world at large. And I know what my work is. So, and they're saying things like, no, we haven't. And I finally gave them a date. So they say, if you don't make a date, then it's like I'm just a light orb talking right
Yeah,
now.
like
I'm loving it.
Don't change it. Like
It's good.
It's coming back. You know it is.
Yeah.
So
It's beautiful.
I'm just sharing with them this journey of faith, right? And I'll say different things. Like they'll say, "What does that look like to you?" And I'll say, "Oh, that just looks like love." Like I just want to fill that space with love, and they'll kind of look at me, and I'm serious. I mean, let's just stand here right now and fill that space with love. You may laugh at me.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the light.
Yeah,
No, it just keeps coming back.
I love
But
it. I love it.
that's just me
So
right
the
now, and
positive
that's the
energy.
message that I've gotten. Yeah, is sometimes we're too much, but sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith and say, I'm gonna listen moment to moment, and I'm so excited for what's coming. I have no idea, but I'm so excited.
So
Yeah.
I love that, and it's so
Here it comes
beautiful.
again.
Yeah.
So for me, my action steps, this is going to be really, you'll know by next week whether or not I did it. So I currently only own one pair of like cute shoes. I mean, I've got like ballet flats, but I don't wear those to improv. I don't wear them anywhere because they're not like, I can't play in them as much as I want to. So I have I have a pair of like high top Vans that are like the only play shoes that I have other than like running shoes, which I'm not, it's not the same. I don't feel playful in my running shoes. I feel functional in my running shoes. So that, and then, I have a couple tops like this that were a little bit pricey, but most of my clothes are t-shirts, the Sacred Geometry t-shirts, and I've been washing them. They're ready to be done. They're almost see-through, and t-shirts for me were the go-to of, okay, well, none of these other things on the rack in the stores feel like me. So I'm telling myself that this week I will be looking on Etsy. I will be looking on where I got this and where I got some of my others. And I will be upgrading my wardrobe with some things that can support me in this divine femininity and this empowered sexuality. And getting the shoes that I want that feel playful and sexual, like reinforce my sexuality of the way that I define it, which is not heels or immobilizing shoes, but playful shoes that let me dance. And then part of all of this is leaning into the faith that these objects do exist, because since I'm braless, part of the barrier and the limiting belief has been, oh, there are all these beautiful clothes, but I can't wear that without a bra. It's too thin, like it's too texture hugging. This is linen for a reason. There are very specific textures I'm comfortable with. And so setting the intention from the high vibe space that these things will find me, and it will be a fun process, and it will look completely different than any other Google online search experience I've ever had. It will be fun and flow and empowering.
That's beautiful. Guess what? GI needs t-shirts.
Yeah.
Especially Sacred Geometry. And we need a shirt just like that. The one that keeps coming through on Kay's camera.
Oh,
with the little
I'll have
right
to
there.
see it afterwards. Yeah.
And what was that? Is that your right shoulder, Kay, or your left?
Is it this one?
Yeah.
My right.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's like the doing from the heart. I don't know what that is, but yeah.
I'll
Doing
have to see it.
Is that
Did you
yawn?
just yawn?
Yeah.
Yawn?
It's been more than an hour, and I've been standing this whole time. Maybe that's a good pause.
I saw that. I was just gonna ask you. Oh my gosh, you're standing. I saw you.
Yeah.
But just
comes
really
that
quickly.
light, and it's behind AJ too.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
AJ, really quickly, I wanted to say that I thought that was so beautiful that you were. I enjoyed your story, and I love what you said about your daughters, and it made me so emotional because I have two sons, and I know that if I would have had daughters, I would have felt exactly like that. So, that was just very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
And thank you for you're welcome. I will receive that. Thank you. I won't just deflect it. And thank you for playing with the limiting beliefs and being vulnerable on screen, because this is to go back to how we met each other and how we very rapidly built trust amongst ourselves and between each other, it was being in that environment where we were willing to be completely vulnerable in that intimate group and to see
Mhm.
each other at our most vulnerable. And we know what that feels like on the other side, and so now we're willing to do it publicly. So thank you for being the first one of us to do that.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. I
Yeah.
love you
Thank
ladies so
you.
much.
I love you.
I love you too. Yeah, and thank you, AJ, for sharing your story and leading us into a place where we got to talk through how to work through an event, right? When we see ourselves in other people, but we haven't quite seen ourselves yet, and we just dig in and lean into what was that? What is this here for me to learn? And thank you, July, for talking about voices in your head.
Mhm.
Um, just the stigma that comes with having voices in your head and knowing that that's just a cultural thing, right? Say you go spend some
Mhm.
time in Venezuela, that's not how it goes there, right? So just
Oh,
kind of not being ethnocentric and thinking, hey, voices in our head, I need to go talk to the doctor. These need to stop. More of this is about energy work and us understanding that we're here to serve and we're
mm,
here to learn. Thank you. Thank you for that, ladies.
you're
And
welcome.
Kay, you thank you for going along and trusting and leaning in on some topics that sometimes feel like, you
Mhm.
know, July and I spiral towards decision making. And you're like, wait, I don't know if I'm ready.
I'm like,
I
pause,
know.
pause, pause. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you
Yeah.
for always articulating your discomfort and reminding us to come back to center and to come back to ground, because I guarantee you, not all the time are my messages from a place of ground. And so um,
Mhm.
that re-anchoring is very valuable to me, and I'm always grateful and appreciative when you introduce it again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Likewise. Likewise.
Yeah. Thank you. It's
And
not my comfort zone, but it is getting to be. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it so much. And the window has spoken on your behalf. Like,
It's gold. It's gold now.
don't mess with her. No. So thank you, you guys,
Yeah.
both
Thank
of
you.
you. And I look forward to next week for another lively discussion. And I
Yeah,
guess we'll go ahead and say goodbye to our viewers. And any
Yeah.
last words, ladies?
I love you.
Love
Yeah.
you. Thank you for the playground. I love playtime. Thank you.
Yes.
Me too.
Thank you for joining us, you guys. We love you. All right. Talk to you later, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Talk to you
Bye.
later. Bye.
Bye.